What's up, everyone? So today's video is gonna be a little different than normal, but I realized that, ideally as this grows and everything, there will be a lot of you that won't know me beyond these videos. The only things you'll know about me is what you see in these videos, and so I want to take this one and kind of dive into my story and what that's looked like over the past 24 years. Don't worry, it's not going to take 24 years worth of time to go through it, but anyway. So I've only been, at this point now, I've only been actually following God for the last like 7.5 years. And so there's a decent amount of time before that. So I kind of want to run through that and just kind of go over like what that looked like, and how I got to this point, right here. This wonderful person you see before you. Anyway, but anyway, so I grew up in church. I grew up in a Christian home and everything, and I got saved. I gave my life to Jesus and everything at 3 years old, just like most of my siblings did. There's 7 of us all together, and so 6 of us got saved at 3. One of us, the slacker, got saved at 4. Anyway, but so I got saved at 3 years old, but I never really was taught much of beyond that, of how God wanted to interact with me and what he, how he wanted to deal with my life, and, what that looked like and what that relationship was supposed to look like. And so for me, that kind of just died off there. And that was about the extent of it. And so I developed this idea that, God didn't really care about, the inner workings of my life, and that he was incredibly boring. And so why would I want to deal with that? And so with that going in the background, as I got older, I started to, realize the issues going on in our home, and it was, there was really, negative and, not great environment and all of that. And so, I was never, physically abused or anything like that. But it was just really a not great environment. And there was a lot of issues between my parents. And so, dealing with that, as well as all the things that I was dealing with mentally and working through the issues of my own life, it was just a lot. So over the years, I started to get really angry, and I never really had a good relationship with my dad. Me and my mom were really close, but in my dad's attempts to express how much he loved me and encourage me to reach my potential, from my perspective, all that I felt was rejection of where I was at in life at the time, and condemnation for what was going on and everything. And so that put up a wall between me and my dad, and I developed a deep hate for him through a period of my life. And so this kind of all started to work its way through at about like 8 or 9 was when I started really get angry and dive deep into the darkness, because for me it was this anger and this rage and this darkness and this idea that I started to develop, that if I could, that fear paralyzed people. And so I felt like if I could become the idea of fear to others, then I would be stronger than them, because life was just overwhelming. It was too much, and I didn't feel like I could handle it. I didn't feel like I could take it. I felt alone. I never really had any friends, and so it was just a dark place at that point in my life. But then as I get up into around 10 and 11 and stuff, I started to meet different people. And so at 10 years old, I started smoking cigarettes because, it was the thing to do. It was fun. And so I started doing that and everything. And then, as I fast forward a little bit, around 12, I started drinking because I was, I'm just trying to find something to deal with the frustration and the anger and the pain of my life. By this point, I had surrendered to the idea that I did not want to live this life anymore, but I was also not the type of person to just actually end it. I wanted to go out having fun, and so I kind of shifted gears in life, around this age to where I was like, well, let me just kind of party myself to death. Let me try and find fun ways that I can kill myself, because I don't want to live anymore, but I might as well enjoy myself on my way out. And so by this time, I've pretty much completely abandoned the idea of living for God on any real level. He was just kind of this side figure that I'm like, God's super boring. I don't want to live a boring life. My life sucks. It's horrible. And so I don't want to deal with that. And so around 13, 14, I started to meet some party friends. And so at 14, I started doing drugs. I started smoking weed. And then quickly that catapulted into, powder and pills and absolutely anything that would make me not feel life. And so before long, my entire existence was this party life, and my entire purpose for being was this idea of if I can be the most messed up at every party, if I can be the most, tore up in every situation, then that'll give me something to live for. That'll give me something that defines me. That'll make me something more than I am. And so, I lived in that state for a while, and then eventually, finally, my parents, my mom decided it was just too much, and so that it was not a great environment. So finally my parents split, and so I ended up living with my mom, and she didn't want to go to the same church that my dad went to because she was, trying to run away. And so we started going to this other church. And, because she had a few friends that had gone to, Cornerstone before the new church. And so she took us with her and everything. And because I respected my mom, I was like, fine, I'll go to church, because you want me to. And so I just went and I slept through every single service. I was high every time that I went, and I just slept through all the services. And this was, I was about 15 at this point, about 15 and a half, getting close to 16. And so I do that for about a year where I just sleep through every service and I'm high all the time. And then finally, things started to break through to me, because one thing that I noticed when I showed up to this church, the two main things that stuck out to me was, one, when I went to the youth group there, it was actually fun, and I had never really experienced, a lot of fun as I saw it in church. And the second thing was that everybody seemed to love me. It was very obvious that I was messed up. I showed up in my, hoodie with my gloves on and high out my mind, because I was embracing the darkness and everything. And I never saw a dirty look from anybody. All I saw was love from people. And so these two things really stuck with me over the next year while I was sleeping through the services, high out my mind. And so then finally I was like, you know what? I really feel like there may be something to this, because these people's lives are consistent. They're enjoying life. This environment is amazing. I feel like there's something to God that I never knew before, to where He actually cares about my life and wants to interact with me on a real personal level. And so I was like, you know what? I think I need to start getting my stuff straight and everything. At the time, me, my oldest brother, and one of my closest friends were doing drugs together all the time. And so by this time they had started coming with me to church every once in a while. And so we kind of started this group conversation of, there might be something about this. I kind of want to maybe check this out, kind of want to maybe do this, Jesus thing or whatever. And so over the next couple months, we were like, let's do this. We're going to quit. We're going to stop doing drugs. We're going to be sober and everything. And then, of course, the next day we'd be like, all right, so who's getting the drugs? Because that's what you do, and that's how it is. And so, I fight like this for a while, where I'm like, I've got to get myself straight. I got to get myself straight. I got to get myself straight. I'm working hard. I'm like, I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. And I'm kind of keeping this barrier between me and God, because I'm like, I got to fix myself, and then I'll actually go all in at church and everything. And so crazy, one night I'm having a conversation with my oldest brother, we're, doing drugs together again and everything. And I, talking to them about this mental process that I'm going through of I've got to fix me, and then I'll go be real about this whole Jesus thing at church. And somewhere out of, I don't know where, I guess, obviously the Lord, He said to me, he was like, if that's the only thing stopping you from being all in, then that can't be it, because you can't fix yourself. Only God can fix you. And so I'm like, and so that really stuck with me. And so over the next little while, this idea just kind of keeps forming in me, but I'm still like, I need to, I want to do these last few, exciting things. I want to try these drugs. I want to do this one more time. I've got this list, I'm like, all right, God, I'm going to work through this list. And once I'm done with this list, then I'll be done. I'll surrender, we'll fight it then. And so, I'm good with the list. And then one night, after a birthday party of one of my friends, now brother-in-law, actually. So after his birthday party, I'm on my way home, and my brother and friend text me, and they're like, hey, we got some powder, let's do some stuff, you trying to hang out? And I'm like, yes. And this was one of the things on my list. I'm like, this thing right here, this was on my list, this will be one I can check off to do this again. And so I go down to there, we get in the shed and everything, because we hung out in the shed all the time, that's where we did all our drugs. But so we get in the shed, we're going, and it's about 4 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And this is a Saturday night, so I got to get up for church the next day. So I'm like, you know what? I should probably try and get some sleep. And so I go into the house, and I'm kind of getting my bed ready and all of that. And um, and the words to this song that I've been listening to is a Christian song, this Christian rap song. The words to this song kept playing in my head over and over and over and over and over again. And it said, I lay the old man down, I lay the old man down, I lay the old man down. And so finally I snapped, I broke, and I was like, all right, Lord, I'm done. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of fighting. I can't do this. Take it. I'm done. And so the next day, that Sunday, I slept all day. I went to church. It was a Super Bowl Sunday, so I went to church, came home to the Super Bowl party, and just slept on the sofa all day. And then Monday morning, I woke up, and everything was done. Since then, there's been no cussing, there's been no smoking, there's been no drinking, there's been no drugs, all of it just gone in a moment. God took it. And so that was absolutely amazing, and so, then developing this life, and living with him and everything, it's not always daisies and roses, but since that time, it's just awesome the things that God will do, because, at that point in my life, I was the kid that sat in the corner alone and didn't talk to anybody. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that I would, be capable of or enjoy doing this and preaching, which is something that I love, and, doing these videos and everything were so far from anything I could have possibly imagined. And God brought me from there to here, and now I have an amazing relationship with my dad. We get along so well. I thoroughly enjoy talking to him. All 6 of my brothers and sisters are, serving God and living for him and everything. My dad's doing well, my mom's doing well, with her new husband and everything. And so it's just awesome to me what God is capable of doing, and taking how broken that I was and bringing me to this point. So there's so much more that's gone on over the past years, so much more I could say, but I'm not really trying to take all of that time. So that'll be the conclusion of my story. Hopefully, you've enjoyed this. Hopefully, it helps you in some way. Hopefully, if you're in a similar position to where I was, and, you feel like you don't have an idea of who God is, you feel like God doesn't care, or you feel like God's just this boring, whatever, or, you feel too broken, or you feel too lost, or your life feels too much, hopefully, my story and my process and what, God has done for me can help give you hope, because God does care about you. He does love you. God is so much fun. He is literally the most enjoyable person that I talk to. And in the darkest of places, he can pull you out. The way that I would describe myself before Jesus is a sadistic, suicidal, psychopathic drug addict. And if God can pull me out of a darkness like that and bring me to here making this video talking about how awesome he is to all of you, then he can do anything. So I just want to encourage you in that. Thank you so much for watching. I love you. Jesus loves you. You are important. You are valuable. You matter. And I'll see you next time.